All right, thanks for staying with us. Now, referencing citizen participation and flood management, lessons from public policy implementation in Nigeria by Taiwo O. Adefisoye. Despite local, national, and international efforts at flood mitigation and control, flood continues to be a major challenge to humanity. So it is on record that all of the hazards that have ravaged humanity, food is the commonest. Now, Smith in 2006 estimates that flood disaster regularly claim over 20,000 lives yearly and adversely affect around 75 million people worldwide. Now, similarly, incidents of flood have been on the rise and are responsible for more than half of all disaster-related fatalities and a third of the economic loss from all natural catastrophes. Now, research has also shown that the number of residents exposed to flood risk has risen by 114% globally between 1970 and 2010. Now, in the rainy season in particular, it is common to read about devastating flood incidents in the media across many countries. Generally, there are three schools of thought on the preponderance of flooding all over the world. The first is of the view that there is global warming and climate change, which has directly and indirectly increased the amount of rain and ice melt. The result of this is increase in rainfall and water, right? In the case of the southwest Nigeria, however, the only source of water that results in massive flooding in Nigeria is rainwater. Now, the second school of thought is of the opinion that there has been a lot of impairment on the physical environment of man. Now, the environment is only responding to these impairments, and these include poor physical and environmental planning, poor waste management that we had mentioned earlier, insufficient drainages, dams and levees, and so on. Now, the third school of thought creates a convergence between two theories that had been discussed above. It is the opinion that massive flooding is a product of global warming, climate change, and the impairment on the environment. Now, we can't control the incessant rain, but what roles, right, do we as citizens play when it comes to flood management or flood, the kind of flood that we're experiencing now, right, today? Now, please, let's hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-8663. You can also tweet at us at WaveShowAfrica1 with the hashtag WaveShow. All right, so this is actually very interesting. First of all, whose area is flooded here?
Thankfully, my area isn't flooded, but the area leading up to my area is flooded. And even though there are gutters, you can't see the water flowing anywhere. Aside from it not flowing, you know all the issues about health hazards. When you have stagnant water, it has to then move on to people falling ill with cholera and all sorts of things, mosquitoes all over the place. So it's not just about the flooding. People can't even afford to take their cars out because you have to calculate what the expense would be if you were to be caught up in a flood. I mean, there's a road very close to Water Corporation in this Lagos, around the corner from the studios, that has been drenched with water. Do you know the road? I think it's a landmark road. Drenched with water for years. Anytime it rains a little, you can't even determine whether the road is smooth. You can't take it for granted in Nigeria. Abroad, most times they can say, okay, we know this road is smooth at least. It's whether or not the car would be saturated with water that would make us not vie that road. But in Nigeria, you don't know where a pothole is that will lead to a gutter, that will lead to a graveyard.
A gully.
A gully, a graveyard.
You know, it's interesting you're mentioning that Water Corporation road, because I remember that when we just launched Waze in 2019, December. Oh my goodness. So there was a particular day I was stuck. Olamide was stuck. Chinasa was stuck. She was one of our co-handlers. She was stuck on that Water Corporation.
Yeah.
I got to the studio. This is a 5-minute drive. Because the entire place was like, you could literally use a canoe or you could go kayaking on that road.
Yes.
And this is, so like you rightly said, this is not something,
for years.
This is not something that is unique to any government. Because I remember even, what's it called? Every dispensation in Lagos State has experienced this level of, flooding. And it's just that as the years go by, they are some governments were a bit proactive. So I remember that with Fashola's government, right, when it is approaching the raining season, you see they would send out all those guys that will start to clear,
earth will remove, to
clear the
gutters
drainages and all of that. But you see, the conversation today is us as citizens. Because, I mean, you're driving on the road and you see somebody, after having a drink with a PET bottle, the next thing you toss it off out the window. Where do you think that PET bottle is ending? Or sachet water bags. The sachet water.
We should even start from the building of houses, the town planning, and the
town planning and all of those, it still lies in the government's hand.
Yes,
right?
But they claim that some people don't have permits, and you watch them build these structures that are blocking canals, blocking waterways.
Who are giving them access?
They go ahead.
That's what I don't understand. Even when you claim that they don't have permits, like they did to the governor, that pastor just recently, that they went to take his house down, saying that it was over water with the major.
Yes, the security house. That was, yes.
By the time he put the foundation down and he was able to erect it to the level of roofing, what were the officials doing about bringing it down? Why wait till the structure has been in existence for 2 years, 3 years, and then one government allows it to stand, another one lets it go? It's as if they don't even have a normal blueprint of what should obtain in all circumstances, regardless of what government is on the seat. This rule would apply to this government today. Tomorrow they will change their minds and let the structure stay. So first, for me at least, the people that give those environmental building permits and all should be the first people we talk to about who they permit to build in certain places and how those buildings obstruct drainage.
Let me hear, Norma, your thoughts on this.
Well, the conversation is around the citizens for this evening, right? So we already know that the government has a lot of work to do. I mean, we can't overemphasize how important that whatever government, whether incoming or outgoing for the period that they have, that they be responsible for what they are meant to do concerning flooding within the state or within different areas in Nigeria. But talking about the citizens' role, and you started with people flinging things out of the window. Now that, yes, and that already in itself, it is indiscipline. It is highly irresponsible of you to, how does it even look to you? But it will shock you the number of people, including supposed civilized human beings who should know better, are the ones flinging things. You eat gala on the road, you toss it out of the window in the bus, or I mean, there was a time I was on the road and I saw some kids as little as 8 and 9 begin to throw. I literally
wound down the
chased the bus down to say that is completely irresponsible of that child. So imagine a child who has gotten used to tossing things from the window because they saw an adult do it. By the time they're adults, you can imagine the amount of garbage that would have accumulated in the gutters, because those are the places that receive these things. So it starts with the responsibility of the citizen. When we know that each and every one of us is responsible for the outcome of our environment, then it will start. When people know that for every toss or every fling that takes place,
there's a fine or something.
It's not just, before we even get to the fines, it's your responsibility, your personal responsibility, that for everything you do, there's a damage that is done to the environment.
Yes.
And that damage is going to directly or indirectly affect you presently or in times to come. There was a time, I think some years back, that we heard of some students that were, because of the floods, some of them were swept away in the gutters and the canals, and we lost about 2 or so of them. I don't know if you can remember that story.
I think it was in the east.
So imagine, here in Lagos.
It was in Lagos.
It was in Lagos. Okay. So imagine that your child, if you know, maybe, I don't know, through media or whatever, you are able to let people know that your child can be that child that will be, because of floods, and floods that are caused by man-made activities, then people will start knowing that, oh, there are consequences that can directly affect me as a person or my family and all of that. So when you start with getting citizens to be responsible, there are other ways. Okay, now, how do they collect their rubbish? How do we even turn this rubbish into good? A lot of climes, they have recycling facilities or recycling operation that makes people to know that, oh, this one, bottles, go here. You go to the airport, you see all of the
Garbage
dustbins
that they convert into electricity.
that they put in different dustbins. This is for trash, this is for bottles, this is for
paper,
you know, all of that. So why not we begin to create some of those things in our environment?
You know, I went to, sorry Norma, I went to fix my car 2 Saturdays ago at motorways. Everybody knows motorways, and you know that there's a mechanic village there. Behind the mechanic village is the Olusosu. That thing is a tongue twister for me. Olusosu or Olusosu. Whatever it is.
Close to Ojota.
The Olusosu, yes, the Olusosu dump site.
Okay.
So when I saw that, I asked the mechanic, like it was literally
a mountain,
dirty, and it's a mountain of dirt.
Absolutely.
I asked the mechanic, I said, you guys still have this here? He said, how we go do them? Do you understand? So,
but do you know, sorry to cut you off, do you know that I know 2 different companies that have asked government about giving them the opportunity to convert it into electricity?
Because there's biogas.
Because apparently it's something useful to them.
Absolutely.
But they would come with the ideas, they want to pass it on to someone they know.
Yes.
And they never touch it at the end of the day.
Even when we are talking about, the reason I brought this up, even when we're talking about the roles of citizens, right? Yes, there's a role that we have to play as citizens. But you see, within the government, you're first a citizen before you're a government official.
Yes.
Do you understand? If everybody decides to say, you know what, they want to pick up, you know what, I will do my own part. I will play my own part. Forget whether the bigger picture, I mean the bigger body as government is not doing. But as a citizen, I'm a citizen within the government. I will play my own part. A lot of things will change. Now when I saw that dump site, and I remember first of all the stench, the amount of emissions, the gases and all of, because there are lots of biogas. I did biogas, you know, as my seminar in school when I was in final year. That was part of the semi-project that I did to defend. And I know how much can be generated there. In India, it's being done. So I'm just saying that, yes, there is that part of citizen. But you see, even in the citizen role that we're looking at, can we also as citizens stop buying bigger cars? Right? Can we say that, you know what, we will all go and stand in front of the people that are supposed to be responsible to make sure these things happen? Because us as citizens, we're very complacent. We're the ones that have allowed these government officials not to do their job.
Be accountable.
We're the ones that have allowed them to continue to just largesse because we are giving it so easy for them. We're not putting them on their toes as citizens.
Because a lot of people don't really even understand the impact of this thing on life going forward.
So look at it now. You are buying a property. The other day I was saying that, please, what exactly are we buying? Even I saw a video of someone that did a video on Atikoi where there was so much water and everything. What exactly are we paying for? You call a property, you say 400 million, 200 million.
And then you are reclaiming the land first of all, pushing the water back.
There's not even road to the house.
Access it.
So what people are doing, instead of focusing on solving the problem, you go and buy bigger cars, higher cars, and all of that. It is because we have learnt the spirit of adaptation. That is why this problem of flood is not going anywhere.
But even as citizens, I mean, the easiest solution to waste management would be to burn your rubbish. But it is not healthy to have these fumes coming out because air pollution will come. And there are some things that are not supposed to be burnt.
You know,
but people would not know the difference. All they'll think is we're getting rid of the rubbish. And so the land that the major parts, the llamas and everybody take the rubbish to, belongs to the government. Right? Belongs to the government. We've done what we're supposed to do. We used to have environmental sanitation once a month, every...
We should reinstate that.
We should reinstate that, that you go and clear up your neighborhood. You clear the gutters, you clean it up. But the education about recyclable products too is something that they should start doing.
It's very key because...
Separating paper from plastic, from rubber, so that when we do that and we have the... I don't know who these people are. Forgive my illiteracy when it comes to this. The people that know about waste management and how to convert it into recyclers. When they come and they tell us, okay, with all this plastic, we can do this with it, build blocks and concrete and tanks for water, or garbage cans and things like that. With paper, we can recycle it and then bring a low-value toilet roll or something like that.
You know some of these there. If you see some of the areas, they have these. Some companies put together these collectors where you can put bottles, your pet bottles, and all of that. But over time, sometimes I pass through and I see that even those bottles are not collected. And you're wondering. So imagine that it gets full, and then people don't know where else to throw their stuff. At the end of the day, things are going to go back to normal. So I think it still goes back to that personal responsibility. By the time each and every one of us know that it is my responsibility to keep my environment clean, leave the one that government is not. Of course, government will be answerable. And I like the angle that you brought it to, because we don't make our officers or our leaders accountable.
Government representatives.
What are you doing concerning the roads in the area? What are you doing to make sure that the gutters are cleared? Sometimes people clear these things and put them on the road. You notice,
yeah,
and
they bring it out and
they
then
leave them. There's no lawma or there are no enforcers to come and take all of this waste away from the road. So once the rains come again, it washes right back into the gutters, and we're back to square one. So of what use is it that we do they make all this? After a while, people will just say, you know what, why even bother?
Same old.
But I kind of emphasize the fact of we can't take it away from this conversation, because even though the citizens have their role to play, and they must also rise up to making our leaders accountable, the government still has a very huge chunk of responsibility to its citizens.
So
the
I would say
canals, it's not the citizens that are going, even though they're responsible for some of those things, but they're not going to be the ones to so that's where enforcement comes in, where you were saying about you pay a fine if you're caught throwing things out of the window.
It was insane.
These things were, it's following things
when we
through.
have
Sometimes they implement, and then following it through is where the problem lies.
Let's take a break. We'd like to open our phone lines. I'd like to hear the thoughts of people, because you see, the reason I didn't want to so much focus on government, because it seems like every time we're always bashing the government. I understand that the government has a huge role to play, but I'm thinking that if we wake up, do you understand, to what our own responsibilities are as citizens, then we'll get them to do their job. But let's take a break. We'll be right back. Alright, so if you just tuned in, it's our Ladies Night Out, and we are focusing today on the role of citizens in flood management, right? Now, please, let's hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-4663. You can also tweet at us at WayShowAfrica1 with the hashtag WayShow. Our phone line is now open. You know the rules. Please turn off the volume of your television set so we can hear ourselves. The number to call is 070-2500-774. Remember to turn off the volume of your television set. All right, so, I like that part of government, because the truth is we cannot have any conversation around flood and not put government inside. But there are so many things, because if you had listened to the introduction I had made around the flood, there's that part of desecrating the land, where we don't have trees anymore, we don't have all of those things anymore. Go and check most of these estates, right? Most of them, first of all, they were swamps that were sandfield, that were now, and you see, Uti always brags, and I wish she was on this call with us. Yes. She always brags about her estate, right? You would see that within the estate, they have carved out massive infrastructure. So they were not those kinds of developers that were greedy to say they want to build house everywhere. They did proper drainages, proper everything.
Water retention as well.
Thank you. So that when you are living within that estate, but go and check. How many developers today would say, you know what, let me sacrifice land that I would have sold for XYZ millions and build proper infrastructure? We don't have all of those things. That is not on the government. It is us as citizens.
It's planning permits that are being given to this.
Well, let me take Loma, I believe our first caller from Abia State. Thank you for calling, Loma.
My dear sister in the house.
Hi, good evening.
I so much love this topic, role of citizens in flood management. First and foremost, let me take from the government. Lack of planning is the fault of the government.
True.
Cannot be an emergency on the part of the citizens. Lack of planning in the part of the government cannot be an emergency in the part of the citizens. Now, a well-planned environment, a well-structured environment makes free flow. I'm telling you, it is because of lack of proper environmental planning. That is why. And secondly, let me take on the citizens. Because the citizens think that everything government will do it for them all. And they fail to scoop the water. And when it's anything, they throw it once it is raining. You see them doing it. So the citizens need to stop the attitude of throwing things into the gutter, doing things when it is raining. By so doing, you will stop this particular flooding that is happening. Then, the government on their own side will make sure there is proper drainage system in the whole country. Otherwise, this thing that is happening in Lagos is happening in Abia State. You will see it here everywhere. So, it is the government that will make it, will enforce it, so that anybody caught doing something when it is raining, that person will now be prosecuted. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Absolutely. So I mean, Loma just reminded me of something that happens. You know, when it starts to rain like this, that's when people go and bring out their trash, so that the water will carry it and sweep. Where do you think the water is? Where do you think the trash is ending? It's
going to end up.
Do you understand? So I'm saying that yes, I get that part of structural plan, which is what we have failed woefully in Nigeria, and that's why you must continue to applaud El Rufai, what he did in Abuja. It took a lot of guts for him to get up and destroy a lot of things to be able to properly structure that city, right? We don't have that structure in Lagos. We don't have that structure in most of our states. I mean, Benin, when it's raining like this, is an eyesore. Look, we saw videos of Ogun State, we saw videos of Benin, now he's talking about Anambra State and all of that, Abia State. So there is a huge deficit when it comes to planning with the government. But I am saying that in all of these things, there's still that role that every citizen must wake up to.
Of course.
But let me take youngest old man and I'll come back to you, Norma. You're live.
Good evening.
Hi.
How is today?
We are good.
Yes, it's really a topic here. I really don't want to say much about the government because we are the people that started this wahala. You know, in those days that we were little, you see our mothers and our aunties packing all their dirty. Immediately it's rain, they'll just come and stand close to the nearest move and pour it there. You just see it going with the rain. Kind of looks interesting when you're looking at the dirt while it's going. But we saw all these things, it don't happen, and the level of enlightenment is very low. You should understand what is happening to the National Orientation Agency to educate people that all these things are wrong. I grew up knowing that thing is bad because I had one or two information that is wrong, and I didn't continue with that trend. But what about other people that don't even do that is wrong? You understand me? Then secondly, they should bring out days that you can clean up our gutters. Some of these gutters are as big as a car. But you see the dirt inside is so big. And we have all these street unions that can join hand and hire people to clear it. You see, the government cannot do everything. At the same time, the government can only help in enlightening. You understand? So for me, I think that what they need to do is to enlighten people more. Then the cooperatives and the street thing should not put it up in having days. If they can even bring back the environmental back, they should bring it back. Because Dr. Delama said, he said that the Lagos, whatever, in charge of clearing of all these gutters, say that they've done all they could. This water will keep on coming. That should be opened. But we need to make way for them, because if we don't make for water, water will make way for itself. True. So this flood management thing is something that everybody needs to put hand, because it's dangerous and it's coming and it's coming and it's going to be worse.
Thank you.
I think they said that Lagos is one of the mapped out states that is going out of the map in the year 2050. I think something like that. They will go under the water or whatever. They explain that thing. So we need to start looking into that. It's something that is serious and is bound to come if we don't work on it.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
If we continue like this.
For a lot of the estates that they're building as well, I think they should actually create spaces for vegetation where the water would be retained back into the soil.
Thank you.
But most people tend to, like you said, most developers try to make use of every single piece of land that they find. So you find them putting interlocking blocks there, but there's nowhere for the water to be drained back into the earth. So it starts moving from one place to the other, and they say water will find its level, but the level it's finding, it's on the same level as people that people are living on. There are no slopes, there are really no dams or reservoirs or places to direct the water to that could be even purified for something else. Because I mean, we need water anyway. So if we can get this much flooding from rains, isn't there a way that they could direct the water somewhere where it's a major reservoir in all these Lagos settlements? I mean, having somewhere like Victoria Island that they've been saying for the past 30 years that if they're not careful, Bar Beach that they've now turned to Ekwe Atlantic, the forces of the water would eventually push back with all the water reclamation that people are doing, thinking, oh, if we push it this way, it will move to that end. After a while, it will come back and find its level. So you really have to find places where the soil is still intact to be able to absorb it back into the ground.
Earth. Let me hear your thought, Nama.
Well, I wanted to say that as citizens, again, we need to also learn to be clean in our packaging of our refuse. Or sometimes when you see people, they just go outside and they just dump it. Putting them in disposable bags, because these things are also detrimental to our health. And you see some of these estates, they do not make arrangement for refuse disposal. So the areas where they put it is either close to the estates, and these are, at the end of the day, if the refuse is exposed, flies, breeding, mosquitoes, and all of those things, they will come back to you as the citizen or the resident of the estate.
I was going to ask, do you
People
think...
don't like to put their things in disposable bags.
Do you think that, because you had mentioned it, and I think Loma also mentioned it, no, sorry, youngest old man just mentioned again about sanitation. Because me, I know that sanitation, when we used to have sanitation, is the time to sleep. Because I know there were a lot of people that carried out.
There were different estates that took it really seriously.
Carried out.
You couldn't sleep. I mean, members of your family
sanitation.
Could sleep, but there would be a representative
People
from
would
your
clean around their areas, sweep around
that
them.
would come and clean out. Okay, so on Google, I found, let me just read out 6 out of 10 ways to prevent flooding. They said you can create a sponge city.
Which is what I had mentioned about the...
Just the green rooftops and gardens where the water is falling. I mean, it's already been absorbed into the potted plants upstairs, so it's not even getting to the ground. It happens if the planning or the building stands strong. Create, but how many rooftops would you have? Create floodplains and overflow areas for rivers, which is what I was saying about water reservoirs, where you direct the water to regardless of where it comes from, because it can be used and pumped and then blown over people's farmlands if the adequate planning is there and those pipes are left there for the tankers and all. Separating rainwater from the sewer system. Install water infiltration and attenuation systems. Keep the sewer system clean so it can do its job. That's just 6 out of 10.
Let's take a comment, Nama.
All right, I have this one from Bissy, and it says, good evening, ladies. Some of the roles of the citizens in flood management include being able to change our bad attitude and activities to the environment. Most of the citizens throw empty bottles and sachet water to the environment. These are not biodegradable. The drainages are filled with nylons and bottles and etc. The wastes are not sorted so they can be recycled and reused. Sometimes the drainage channels are not properly maintained. Due to development, most areas that are not meant to be built on have been used as high-brow residential areas. And what happens over time, as water must flow through its natural course, after some years of being diverted, it will want to flow its course. We no longer plant trees and flowers around houses as we want to build in any available space. As rightly said, there is a climate change now, so rain can fall any time of the year. We need to be ready at all times and do the right things. Thanks and God bless.
Thank you so much, BC, because this is actually very scary. I mean, I have been in my house, I don't know about any other location. Morning, there's rain. Afternoon, there's rain. So I wake up every morning at 5 a.m. It's raining. I'm sleeping, it's raining. So I'm then wondering, how is this government even prepared for what is to come? I mean, what Youngest Old Man alleged about Lagos State saying that, you know, it will be submerged if, you know, is one of the states that have been penciled that it will be submerged in water. It will not be surprising to me because already what are we seeing, you know, with the places? I mean, I went to some area where you hear properties are going for 400 million and the kind of water that is, so the inside the estate is good. But locating the estate, the journey to the estate is a lot of water all over the place.
Swampy areas that they've just tried to patch
and the government is not even, you know, so the government is not even, the people are not even thinking. So everybody as citizens, all we're just doing is just buy big cars and you're good. And I'm wondering, the day that, did you not see the video of
guy kayaking in front of Silverbird?
Not the kayaking one, the one, this recent rain that just fell, I think over the weekend, an SUV.
Family
that they were pulling the SUV. You know, so I mean that is an SUV. So you cannot say because you have an SUV, you are sorted.
SUV won't save you in times like this. It's carried vehicles, it's moved them around, and this is something that we can start sorting if we, each individual, as individuals, as citizens, begin to be responsible. My refuse, I will put it in the right place.
I like this comment. He says, flood is the birthright of unplanned city. This is short and simple. Isn't that flood is the birthright of unplanned city? And I think, and that's where, so I get the part of the government, right? And that is where the government must take on. So if it means being enemies with a lot of people, which is what everybody did at Abuja.
Because whoever is in charge of
but
everything,
something like Lagos, you can't achieve that.
Are you sure?
To a certain extent, because if we have water surrounding
with
us,
what is already on ground,
you can.
If we have water surrounding us, I'm sure there are ways that we could actually, instead of claiming land, there's ways that we could actually direct water.
Rechannel.
That's what I'm saying. So it's the structures, whether the gutters or, but if it's about destroying properties,
you can.
Maybe not destroy properties.
You have to at some point.
People will pay people and let them.
So that's the point. You cannot collect payments, right? Any property right now that is situated on our waterways. Did you see the Agor Palace way? How somebody was actually doing Olympic swimming inside the water?
I saw it.
Come on, and this is where people are living. So I have a friend of mine that we did a cohort together. She lives in the Festac area of town. We were supposed to have an event this July. She said, "Una, we don't know that if you understand the water." So this water, this flood, it disrupts a lot of things, and we're not counting the costs. I have had to cancel a lot of meetings because I do not have energy to just go through 5 hours of traffic, not doing anything, when I can be at home, being productive in my life. Do you understand? No, there are some meetings you cannot do Zoom, you know, because you've already concluded it's just for you to now do some kind of physical, you know, touch me, I touch you, we'll be able to, so that the handshake will be clean well, you know. But I'm saying that, so if we are able to move past, what's it called? If we're able to move past flooding, it will be a lot more productive, a lot more productive state that we'll be experiencing. Because already as it stands, in Lagos State, and all the places that are flooded, your economic activities have really gone down. You know, it's almost grounded, right? So economic activities has really gone down. Look at what happened at Abraham Adesanya. You know, when they had that, you know that video that's been going around about the kayaking? It was the video that happened, was it 2 years ago? Like, when that rain was really bad. Go there now, you see rain, no water anywhere. Because the government actually properly structured a proper drainage that is now channeled to a river around that area.
Talking about
drainage system. But at the same time, you know, we keep developing further and further out of Lagos because we've saturated this place with buildings. This lack of grounds that has soil to absorb is a major
trees and
issue.
all of that, yes.
Abraham Adesanya may still be easy to push water to because there's still pieces of land that people haven't started building on. In another 10 years or so, they would have the same problem that cannot be sorted out because development would have gotten to that point where every single piece of land is being used. Like they say, if every single piece of land in a compound is cemented, there's nowhere for the water to be absorbed into. Growing up, we used to have gardens, large gardens in compounds with trees and everything. So even if the water was flowing, eventually it will seep back down into the ground. Nowadays, I find a lot of the only vegetation or or Green Life people have
Is
are
in
potted
pots.
plants.
Pots.
All grounds have been cemented. That is blockage. There's nowhere for the water to flow into, because you can imagine how many layers of ground or soil there is on pieces of land when people are building. But when you start just cementing it and blocking it off from the top surface, and it's not as if you've built on an elevated level from the water levels, so that, I mean, you're on the same level as the water is flowing. It's not going down, it's coming straight into your living rooms. People can't even stay on ground floors most times anymore, because when flood starts, it will get into your house.
You go from top to bottom. Bottom to top. Take your comment. Someone says, great topic, ladies. We all need to contribute to flooding prevention, but all of these has to come from the top. Whatever is not managed well will eventually create a problem. We need to respect water. This is from Z on YouTube. Lady, you have a comment quickly?
No comment here.
Really?
Unfortunately, except you want me to speak again.
Okay, so good evening, my dear beautiful sisters of what are you saying? Role of citizens in flood management. We are the architect of our own problem, because if we depend on government to solve our flood problems, then we are wasting our time, because they will not come. They only think of themselves alone and no one else. We can do so ourselves if we cooperate. Sister Uwa, God bless you for us. How can a president say that the presidency is tough? Only a responsible word can come out of an irresponsible man. The people that this man no, he has not killed anybody. Under his watch, people have died. All right, so I was just going to say that, in wrapping up, I believe that every citizen has a role to play. First of all, I like the part of being responsible with your structures and your environment, your gutters, your drainages around you. Secondly is we should stop adapting to the situation. Let's not be looking for the bigger car, the higher car, the whatever car to solve our problem. If it means us coming together, because you see, we are not collectively thinking of the problem. We're not thinking of the problem as a collective problem. It's not my problem because my own area, somebody is posting that next time when you want to buy house during rainy season. That way you are not going to be, you will know that the area is not flooded. But that's not the solution. The solution is we all must come together and hold our government accountable. We must not keep quiet. We must keep talking. And for the people that can afford it,
get the experts that know what
yes,
it is.
for the people that can afford it. In my area, there was a time we all had to contribute money to build our own drainages and our own road, and we are maintaining it. So we can all do all of those things, gradually, really, because the government is overwhelmed, and we can't keep waiting for the government. Your cars are going bad. You cannot go into your houses. The kind of infection, you can't leave your houses. You enter inside the water, tapeworm. I remember all those things, tapeworm and all those things that will enter your legs.
And these are even the decent areas, because people in the likes of
you don't even want to talk about Obakoko.
I mean, they live in water knee-high all the time. And you can imagine the kind of life they have. Living in that kind of sickness, things that would probably lead into cancers and all that. So it's not just about flooding, it's about finding a water retention system. Absolutely. Asking experts, what do we need to do?
Absolutely. On that note, thank you so much, ladies. Thank you, Nama. Thank you,
Lady. Thank you, Uti. I'm glad she watched.
Now, before we go do a show, you follow us on Instagram at PlusTvAfrica. You can interact with us further. More importantly, follow all our engagements on social media. Like, share, invite your families and friends to watch and follow the conversation. If you missed today's quote, it's a very long quote, but follow me. That's it. It says, when we talk of flood control, we usually think of dams and deeper river channels to impound the water or hurry their runoffs. Now, yet neither is the ultimate solution, simply because floods are caused by the flow of water downhill. If the hills are wooded, that flow is checked. If there is a swamp at the foot of the hill, the swamp sponges up most of the excess water, restores some of it to the underground water supply, and feeds the remainder slowly into the streams. Now, strip the hills, drain the boglands, and you create flood conditions inevitably. Yet, that is what we have been doing for years. I think this flood matter is as simple as that. Let's stop what we have been doing for years. Insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. Let's begin to do the other side. All right, we'll see you guys live at 8 p.m. tomorrow. as we bring another great conversation to your screen. Enjoy.
Good night.